Hi everyone! In this video, I will be showing you how to write an article for situational writing. Okay, before I begin, for those of you whose schools have, taught you the format or how to write an article, please follow what your school has taught you. Okay, so far, based on the scripts that we have seen from various school prelims, there does not seem to be a single standardized or fixed format for article. Okay, unlike what we are all very familiar with for our formal, right, and informal writings. Across schools, there is a general format, there is a general requirement, but when it actually comes down to the details, it often varies slightly, right? So please just follow what your school has taught you, okay? Now, firstly, article writing falls under formal writing, okay? And this is your task over here today. All right, you may pause the video over here, right, and read through the task, okay? Now, every time you receive your task, everyone, please remember to mark out important things like your purpose, audience, as well as label and match your content points. All right. So, your task over here today, imagine that you are Jane. Write an article for your school's newsletter. So, if the article is for your school's newsletter, even if they don't explicitly tell you who is it for, right, you can infer that the audience would be people in school, essentially, right? So, your teachers, right, your students, okay? And the purpose of this is to share your experience volunteering at an old folks home. All right, here are the six content points, right? Two reasons, right? Why you decided to volunteer at an old folks home. This is point one and two. Point three, what tasks you were given. Point four, how you made sure you could spend quality time with the residents regularly. Now, point five over here, you are not able to find this from the stimulus, right? You have to come up with something on your own, okay? And point six, okay, what you learned from the experience after several months. All right. Okay, now I'm going to show you the stimulus. Okay, so this is the stimulus. You may pause here, right? Okay, and take a look at this. Okay, and try out this exercise on your own as well before moving on. Okay, okay. So now let's begin. All right. So over here, okay, the first thing you want to include for your article is a title. We do think that it is important to have one because if you look at any article, right, whether it's in a newspaper or whether it's a magazine, right, newspaper articles, magazine articles, there's always a title, right? So coming up with one isn't too difficult. You just have to look at the purpose, okay? The title is simply a brief description, all right, of what the article is about, which is usually already given to you in the task, right? So now remember, this is a brief description, okay? So it should be in the form of a few words or, in a phrase, okay? Now, where should the title go then? In the middle, okay? Most prelim scripts that we have seen, right, okay, they have placed the title in the middle, okay? And on the next line, you do want to include the name of the writer, okay? Because this is, right, formal writing. So we do need our first name and our surname as well. Similar to your formal writing, if the surname is not provided, like in our task today, you just need to make one up. All right. Since you'll most likely be writing an article for a school context, right? So it is also good to include which class you are from, right? So readers know exactly, which Jane, which David, which Tom, or which Janice you are, right? Okay. After all, right, there could be like 100 Jane Lees in the school, right? Okay. Okay, then moving along, right? Okay, for your opening paragraph over here. All right. Now, here's how an opening paragraph can look like. 3 months ago, I joined my mother in volunteering at an old folks' home, and I am writing this article to share my experience there. Now, like in any other situational writing, you need to state your purpose, right? Okay, but for articles, we also think that it is good to include some context first, right? Otherwise, the opening can actually feel abrupt and it will not flow as well, right? So context isn't too difficult. Context is basically background information. And to put it simply, background information or context is basically how you ended up, right? Okay, or what circumstances led you to writing this article today. So make sure to read the preamble and the stimulus carefully. Okay, the preamble is that short statement at the top of the stimulus. Okay. Then we move on into our purpose, right? Nothing new over here in this article, right? Okay, or I'm writing this article for whatever, whatever. Okay. Now, some of you may be wondering, right? Do you really need a context? Our short answer is yes, if you can, right? Please include it. Even if you find it tough, right? Just try your very best, okay? At this point, we don't know how exactly, MOE will mark articles, right? And but based on school papers that we have seen, most do include a context or a lead in before they write the purpose. Okay? Okay, then moving along next, right? Okay, your body paragraphs, right? Your body paragraphs, just write them as per usual, right? Okay, remember to address all your six content points, okay, and make sure that you use connectors, all right? Now, so points one and point two, right? The two reasons why I chose to volunteer are that I've always wanted to give back to the community, okay, meaningfully and learn from the elderly, right? Okay, who have a wealth of experience and knowledge. So point one, point two. Point three, right, you were tasked with taking down the residents' lunch orders, right, and serving their meals. Point four, right, to ensure I can spend quality time with the residents regularly, I decided to reschedule my piano lesson to Sunday mornings so that I could set aside Saturday mornings for volunteering. Okay, now point five over here, other than chatting with them, what other activities do you do to engage them, right? Okay, so this is the one where you have to come up with your own point. You shouldn't and you should not, right? Okay, be finding it or taking it from the stimulus. If you do that, then this point basically is wrong. Okay, you have to come up with something. It's not too difficult, right? You simply just have to come up with another activity that engages the residents over there. So an example here, I engage the residents by doing arts and crafts together, right? Or you can think of other ideas like, playing simple board games with them. Okay, this works as well. And point six over here, what do you learn, right? So after 3 months of volunteering, I have learned the importance of being patient and kind. Okay. Now you notice that I did use like 3 months, right? 3 months ago and after 3 months, even though they actually didn't say, that you were volunteering, right, for 3 months. But because I look at point six, right, okay, and they say after, several months, so I can just add this in on my own, right? You can, if you don't want to be so specific and say like 3 months, 4 months, you can just say a few months ago, right? Or after these few months. That is fine as well. Okay. All right, so that is your body paragraph. Nothing too difficult over here, right? You just always have to make sure that you have addressed all six of your content points. Don't miss any of them out, okay? Now, finally, we move on, okay, to the concluding paragraph, okay? So for the concluding paragraph over here, all right, this is also known as your call to action, right? What you hope the readers will do after reading your article. So I hope my experience inspires you to volunteer in your own way, whether at an old folks' home or elsewhere, right? Thank you for reading my article. Okay, now this call to action, right, does require a little bit of thought, okay? Just a little bit, okay? Because you shouldn't just repeat your purpose, right? It's just like when we receive the formal writing task. Let's say I have a task in which my purpose was to inform about an incident. Your call to action, right, wouldn't be, I hoped you are informed about the incident, right? Because yes, we do say for your call to action, right, okay, you want to repeat what your purpose was, but you need to use a bit of common sense here, right, okay, that after writing such a long, situation writing to that person, write long email, long letter to inform them, and then at the end you say, I hope you're informed. That's a bit silly, right? Okay. So same over here. Writing a call to action is not very difficult. You just need to refer back to your purpose and ask yourself, why exactly am I writing this? Okay. Now, are you writing this article to show that you are such a kind person, right? That you are such an important pillar of society, right? No, right? Okay, that's not the purpose for, us writing this article over here. The point of sharing this experience is to inspire your readers to act, feel, right, or change their perspective in a certain way, okay, or in some ways. So, for example, if you're writing about your volunteering experience over here, your call to action could be that you hope this inspires them to also volunteer, right? It doesn't have to be an old folks home, maybe anywhere else, okay? And lastly, right, remember to thank them for reading your article. Okay? Okay, that is all I have for you for article. I hope you found this video helpful. And on behalf of all the teachers at Think Teach Academy, I wish all of you the very best for your PSLE.